Hello, in this video I want to talk a little bit about weight factors in VieSched++, what are weight factors and how do they determine the schedule. So let's have a look at the weight factors page here. So as you can see, there are a couple of different weight factors in VieSched++. And in order to understand what weight factors are, it's necessary to understand how the scheduling works. So in principle, VieSched++ and also VieSched or VieSched, they're using a brute force method to calculate the schedule. This means that the whole schedule is created scan after scan, and simplified speaking, you start at the beginning of the session and then you look at all possible scans that could be theoretically scheduled at this time. So you simply created all possibilities. So you end up with, let's say, a couple hundred of possible scans. And then, additionally, if you're using subnetting, you also look what combination of two sources can be observed at the same time with subnetting, and you also add all of these scan combinations to your pool of all possible scans, and so in the end you end up with a couple hundred of possibilities, for example, that could theoretically be scheduled at a certain time. And then you need to somehow define, what is the best one, what is the best scan or best scan combination that you can choose at this time. And you do this by calculating a lot of different scores, and that's really the tricky point for scheduling. And the tricky point is defining what is the best scan at a certain time for you at the moment. So VieSched++ is calculating different scores based on different quantities. Like, for example, it's calculating a score based on the improvement of the sky coverage. And it's also calculating a score based on the number of observations per scan, and also a score based on the duration of the scan. So how long does it take me to observe the scan and slew to the source, start the recording, and all that. And for every scan or every scan combination, in case of subnetting, these scores are calculated. So you end up with a couple hundred of possible scans or scan combinations, and then you are calculating scores for each of these possibilities. And finally, you somehow need to calculate your final score per scan or the final score per scan combination. And this is done using the so-called weight factors. And what they are doing is you are simply calculating a weighted sum of all these individual scores. For example, if I would only select these two weight factors, the weight factors for sky coverage and the weight factor for the duration, and I will define them something like, let's say, like give this one a value of 2 and the sky coverage a value of 3, then it would simply take 3 times the score of the sky coverage plus 2 times the scores of the duration of the scan, and it will add these two up, and then it will receive the final score, and it will calculate the final score for every possibility, and the possibility or the scan or the scan combination with the highest score then gets scheduled. And then it gets selected, it gets scheduled, and then the whole process starts again. So again, every possibility is created, and every possibility is a score for every possibility is calculated, and then the final score is calculated based on the weighted sum using the weight factors, and then the scan or the scan combination with the highest score is again scheduled, and it starts again. So again, every combination and so on. So this is what's happening here. And this is why the weight factors are so important, because the weight factors directly determine how the final score is calculated, and therefore they directly determine which source is scheduled at which time. And yeah, so usually the most important weight factors are the three on the top here. So the sky coverage, the improvement in the sky coverage, the number of observations per scan, and the duration of the scan, meaning the whole time from the start of the slewing until the observation is finished. So these are the main three weight factors, and usually you always want all the three of them for your session. The only exception can be intensives, where you only have 2 stations, for example. Then you don't need to worry about the number of observations per scan, because this is fixed for every scan with 1, so it has no influence, so you can deselect it. But other than that, these 3 weight factors here are the most important ones. And I usually also like to add this 4th weight factor here. This weight factor, it simply makes sure that a station is not idling for a long period, because it gives, so if a station is idling for a long period, for example for 300 seconds, then it gives scans which would then be scheduled with the station a higher weight, and the weight gets the higher the more idle time you have. So this simply makes sure that the station is not idling for too long, because after a certain time the weight it gets from this metric here, or the score it would get in this metric here, would increase a lot, and then it's very likely that this is a scan which lead to the highest total score. So usually when I create 24-hour sessions, I always include these 4 weight factors here, these 4 metrics, but sometimes other metrics are important as well. So for example, you can also add extra score for low elevation scans, or extra score to average out the observations per baseline or per station or per source and so on. But this really depends on the science goal of your session and the participating stations and the network and everything. So there's no clear answer in what weight factor should be used here. And that's the whole reason why I developed the multi-scheduling feature, to have a simple tool to try it out. So by using the multi-scheduling feature, you should always start with varying these weight factors here, because they have the highest influence on your schedule usually. And there is the biggest room for improvement, for optimization, by using good weight factors here. Usually those 4 weight factors are sufficient, so it's enough to consider only those 4. Please try to add a 5th one or a 6th one. Maybe this increases your schedule, or improves your schedule. I also, in my opinion, especially the duration weight factor is very important. So usually I give this a high weight, use something like this, for example, for creating my schedule. But in the end, just try it out using the multi-scheduling tool. That's all I can say here. Yeah, and I will only, as I also want to show you this as an example. So for example, if I go to the to my VieSched++ output, so it's in my case programming out, I just pick any of the sessions, and then you can also see this in the log files here. For example, if I open the first log file, you see how it's working, because here it starts at the session start time, and then it was creating all possibilities, and in this case it has considered 201 scans to one single source, and also 513 combination of 2 sources scheduled simultaneously in form of subnetting scans. So in total it was calculating, considering a little bit about 700 possibilities, and all of these 700 possibilities were given a score based on this matrix I've just discussed before, and then these scores were combined to create the final score, and then this schedule with the highest final score was then selected. And in this case it was a subnetting scan. You can see it here, and this is the subnetting scan here, and the highest score was by 5 stations observing this source 0727 minus 115 and 3 stations observing this source here 1749 plus 096. So this was based on the metrics that I was using and the weight factors I was using, the best, the highest scoring combination of scans. And then it would start with the next iteration. And again, it would test every possibility. So here in between, this is a filling mode scan. So it is a filling mode scan. I will not talk about filling mode now, but then it would continue with the next combination. So again, here it's testing, in this case, a little bit 650, a little bit more possibilities, and again calculating the scores and everything, and then picking the one which is best in this position. And this is how the full schedule is created from the beginning until the end. Okay, so this was everything about weight factors. So in the end, the truth is that you really oftentimes you need to simply try it out, and you should always use those four for 24-hour sessions. And yeah, so that's everything from my side about weight factors. I hope it's a little bit clearer, and in case you want to get more idea about how these metrics are calculated and how the scores are calculated and how this everything works, then please have a look at the VieSched++ paper. I will put the link in the description as soon as it is published, so this should be any day now. And yeah, in this paper you get a lot of details about how this is calculated and how this is happening and everything. Okay, thanks for watching and bye.